Good evening, vinyl community. It's Mark here. Quick response to Kieran's Needlegroove talk about a jazz label thread. A bit late in the day, and I've been meaning to do this for a while, and actually thought I was going to be making a video with John today, but it's now going to be a couple of weeks for one reason or another. So anyway, here we go. That was a bit of Eddie Harris, and the label I'm going to be talking about is the Atlantic label. Not necessarily that renowned just for its jazz content, although it was originally mainly a jazz label, founded by the Ertegun brothers, Turkish brothers, I think back in the sort of 40s. And sort of got lots of success in the kind of late 50s with artists like Ray Charles, known a lot for its soul, Sam and Dave, Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin, but also some great jazz stuff. Eddie Harris, for it is he. I've got a lot of Eddie Harris albums. I just think he's a really unusual original artist. He kind of, was a pioneer with the electronic sax. His groove and jazz stuff, I think, is some of the best that's out there. So that kind of soul jazz thing is really, he's an originator and an innovator of that. And he can also be very experimental. There's a whole kind of run of sort of early 70s Atlantic albums where he's kind of injecting his jazz with more groove, sometimes very out there experimentation. He works a lot with a bass player called Rufus Reid, and also Bradley Bobo, who's a 6-string bass player. He tends to have a guitarist called Roland Muldrow, who's fantastic as well. I really like this album. The track I was playing there is called Looker Here. Very nice. Another classic Eddie Harris album and track is this terrible cover. It's called That Is Why You're Overweight. But the track that people tend to know is called It's All Right Now, which is just an ultimate groove tune. If you don't know that tune, check it out on YouTube. It's All Right Now. And this is again very much featuring that similar lineup with Bradley Bobo on the 6-string bass, Rufus Reid sometimes on upright, Roland Muldrow on guitar. Lovely, love him. Sometimes sometimes a bit commercial, but actually always an original voice, and I think very underrated, and a real pioneer. Next up, another artist who I guess straddles that kind of jazz meets soul side of town, and an album which actually I first heard about through Fred, Big Star 1000, and it's Les McCann's Invitation to Openness. I've got a couple of other Les McCann albums, but I have to say this one is the most sort of experimental and a real kind of moment in time, I think, when everybody was just having a go. The first side is just one track called The Lovers on here, and it's great, and you can just tell, they set the right atmosphere and then just let the musicians go. And what a band. You've got Yusef Lateef on tenor sax, Cornell Dupree, who did lots of work with Donny Hathaway, obviously another Atlantic artist, Bernard Purdie on drums, Al Mouzon on drums, Ralph McDonald on percussion. Very good album, definitely worth seeking it out. This is a rather rough looking copy, but it sounds great. So that's Les McCann on the Atlantic label, Invitation to Openness. And of course, Eddie Harris and Les McCann are also very well known for an album they did together called Swiss Movement, which was recorded live at Montreux in Switzerland, and I think about 1969, And this is a reissue that I got, I think it was last year on Rhino, 180 gram vinyl. And yeah, brings the two of them together, and classic version of Compared to What and Cold Duck Time. Yeah, definitely, if you don't know that album as well, check that one out. Fantastic stuff. Another really amazing, innovative jazz artist, sax player, multi-horn player, Roland Kirk, and the album The Inflated Tear. Again, an absolute classic album. So Roland Kirk, a visually impaired musician, renowned for playing more than one horn at one time, and just also having a really authentic and unique sound, so you can tell it's Roland Kirk when you hear him. And a great album, again, highly recommended, and a beautiful Atlantic jazz album. And then my last one, this is a very swift video, quick response, an album that I've just picked up very recently, also of course on the Atlantic label, and it's the album by Andy Bay, and it's called Experience and Judgment, and there is Andy on both the back and the front. And this, I mean, Andy Bay is actually a singer. Reminds me a bit of Gil Scott-Heron, but actually more than that, also a little bit of Terry Callier. Kind of, he's got his own thing going on, and he featured on there's a track called Celestial Blues here, which he also is featured on a Gary Bartz album. That's possibly the more well-known version of that tune, but certainly side one of this album, which I think came out in 74. Fantastic, spacey, funky jazz album. That's how I best describe it. Fantastic rhythm section, some great tunes, very kind of, just very sort of floaty, out there, but funky as well. And vocals really work well on this album. So there you go. That was my tribute to Kieran's Needlegroove challenge, and do check those albums out, and look forward to hearing any thoughts people have, and doing a much more full session video with my friend John in a couple of weeks. See you soon.